time before clocks。睇下呢一段文章啦，佢就話 Nowadays knowing the time is as easy as glancing at your watch or even clicking a button on your mobile phone。即係話今時今日啦，留意下呢個字有 s 㗎嚇，即係話點樣知個時間咧係即係只係 glancing at your watch， 即係 glancing means having a quick look。or even clicking a button on your mobile phone， 即係或者係喺你個電話上邊咧，只係撳一個掣。But clocks are as we know them today。weren't invented until the 15th century， 即係話咧，唔到15世紀咧都未發現，即係我哋都未發明呢個鐘呢一樣嘢。Have you wondered how people told the time before the idea of a clock face and moving hand？ 咁即係佢就問你，即係有冇諗過人係即係我哋之前係點樣去知道時間嘅咧？For thousands of years, humans have felt the need to know the time of day. In fact, ancient civilizations like the ancient Egyptians made ingenious use of nature and science to measure time。即係話咧，幾千年以來啦，人類咧 have felt the need to， 即係話咧係覺得有需要知道呢一個嘅即係一個一日中嘅時間。咁即係唔係話去到15世紀先至去覺得需要，其實已經過咗幾千年咧以來咧，一直人都覺得好需要嘅。咁 in fact 即係事實上啦 ，ancient civilization 即係啲古文化啦，例如好似譬如埃及嗰啲啦，就 make ingenious use of nature，make 個 ingenious 啦 ，genius 就係解好似即係天才啦 ，ingenious 啦即係 means very clever， 即係加埋好 creative 咁嘅意思，即係好有創意嘅一啲方法。咁所以睇翻第一題嘅答案咧 ，ingenious 咧就係 B 啦 ，clever 嘅意思。到到第二段啦，咁佢就話 sun clocks 啦 ，sun clocks 咧就係即係喺文章裏邊第一種佢提及過嘅一啲即係用嚟可以計算時間嘅一個方法啦。咁佢話 between building the pyramids and mummifying pharaohs, the ancient Egyptians found time to invent something a bit like a clock。即係話咧，啲古埃及人咧就係即係除咗揾時間去可以起金字塔啦，同埋啦就去將啲法老王變成木乃伊之外咧，佢哋竟然係揾到啲時間去發明一啲嘢，好似啲鐘咁嘅嘢㗎。As early as 3500 BC, obelisks were built. These were thin four-sided monuments, and their moving shadows create a kind of sundial, allowing people to divide the day into morning and afternoon。咁你會見到咧呢一種呢個叫 obelisk 呢樣嘢咧，就有咩用咧？能夠 divide the day into morning and afternoon。These obelisks could also show the year's longest and shortest days by identifying the length of the shadow at noon。咁即係話咧係可以將一日咧就會分為早上或者下午啦，亦都可以喺全年嚟講咧，就知道全年最長嘅日子或者係最短嘅日子。咁我哋睇翻第二條問題啦，佢就問你 What could obelisks tell you? Give 4 things， 即係叫你俾4樣嘢啦，每一樣嘢咧係0.5分啦。咁呢個佢就最主要係講到話俾你聽，我哋知道 morning and afternoon, the year's longest and shortest days。咁所以咧個答案咧你就會寫翻咧就係話obelisks could tell us， OK 或者 could tell me 都得啦。when it was morning and afternoon， 即係幾時係朝頭早啦，幾時係晏晝啦。跟住咧 and when it was the longest and shortest days of the year， 即係話咧幾時係一個最長或者係最短嘅日子啦。好，接住咧我哋睇埋落去啦。Around 2000 years later, the first portable timepiece came into use. Portable 咧即係可攜帶的啊，即係 that means that something that you can be carried around。咁佢問你啦，第3條問題啦就問你what could you do with the new timepieces that you couldn't do before？ 咁就係話佢經過2000年嘅時間，足之我哋可以帶有一啲係 portable timepiece， 即係話可以帶出街嘅一啲計時嘅 計時嘅工具。咁所以嗰個唔同咧就係即係 what could you do with the new timepiece？ 而家就係可以點樣啊？就係會係you could move them around， 又或者咧係可以講話頭先我講嗰個啦，就係you could carry them with you， 即係話咧係可以帶喺身嘅。咁最主要咧就考你呢一個叫 portable 呢個字啦。OK， portable 即係可攜帶、帶喺身邊嘅意思。好啦，接住咧，我哋再睇埋落去就係話，咁除咗可以攜帶之外咧 ，this device 即係呢個裝置啦 ，separated the day into 12 parts，similar to our hours， 即係話咧呢個裝置係能夠將一日分為12部分，即係好似我哋個鐘咁咧，因為我哋個鐘都會係即係我哋嗰個而家嘅鐘頭都係即係以12個即係12嗰個計算都有24個鐘。The sunlit day was divided into 10 parts plus a twilight hour， 即係話咧一個好似黃昏嘅時間。In the morning and evening， 好啦，接住你會見到啦 ，like with the obelisks, people used this contraption to measure time by observing the movement of shadows over marks。即係話咧，啲人咧都會用呢個裝置去點樣咧？去計算時間。咁而計算時間點樣計算時間咧？佢有個 by 呢個字，即係透過去觀察嗰個嘅即係嗰啲嘅。即係嗰個陰影啦部分啦，即係究竟 the movement of shadows over marks， 即係話咧嗰個影究竟係去到邊個位 ？At noon, the user turned the device in the opposite direction， 就佢咧即係話去到中午啦，就要將佢擺去另一個位置啦 ，allowing them to measure the hours in the afternoon。咁佢條題目咧就係問你究竟 identify the similarity。即係似乜嘢嘢咯？即係頭先我哋似乜乜嗰句咁啊。Identify the similarity between obelisks and the new timepiece。究竟有啲乜嘢相同之處咧？咁相同之處就係 like 呢一句啦，就係話點樣咧？就係佢哋嘅相同之處咧，佢哋兩個咧都係 observe the movement of shadows over marks， 都係咧係觀察嗰個嘅陰影嘅即係嗰個啦喺個即係個陰影咧係透過究竟個 mark 去到邊度？個陰影去到嗰個 mark 嗰個邊度啊？嘅意思係 OK， 咁所以你會講咧就係、應該咧就會講話就係 people could use both obelisks and the new timepieces to measure time by observing shadows moving over marks。就係我哋咧係透過乜嘢咧？就係、是、by observing shadows moving over marks 就可以知道個時間啦，就可以能夠可以 measure time。OK， 咁即係話 both 我哋用 both 啦，即係呢樣嘢同埋呢一樣嘢同埋呢一樣嘢咧都可以用嚟量度時間啦。佢哋相同之處就係、是、咁，而點樣可以量度時間咧？就係、是、透過咧係觀察佢哋嗰個陰影去到邊個位置。好啦，接住咧就到第5題啦。咁佢就話啦，But what about telling the time at night? Not to be limited by darkness, the Egyptians also had an invention that used the stars to measure hours throughout the night。即係話啲埃及人啦係可以量度夜晚，因為頭先我哋都講過話，佢哋全部係需要睇到嗰個太陽，而睇到個太陽照射落去嗰條柱啊，或者係嗰啲一樣即係一啲嘢去睇個陰影啦。咁佢陰影去到邊就知道嗰個時間啦。咁究竟夜晚係點樣咧？咁佢就講咧就係用星星去量度嘅。咁我哋睇一睇呢一個啦，就係、是。咩叫 not to be limited by darkness 咧？個意思咧就係因為 limit 即係限制咧，即係唔受到晚上嘅時間去限制嘅意思係點解咧？就係it means that the Egyptians 用翻 past tense 喎，因為講緊以前喎。Did not let the darkness stop them being able to tell the time。又或者咧就係話not to be limited by darkness， 即係話 they can still tell the time when it is at night。你總之咧就係講翻話夜晚咧都可以能夠量度到時間咧，就係等於 not to be limited by darkness 啦。咁下一題啦。What is meridian 啦？咁你會睇翻咧呢一度咧就佢其實係直接都係只係抄嘅啫。佢話also known as meridian。咁呢一個咧就係一個 north-south line， 即係意思喺地球由嗰個由North Pole至到 South Pole 一個拉落嚟一條線咧就叫做一個 meridian。咁所以咧 the meridian is 乜嘢啊？ The north-south line。咁睇翻呢一個啦，就寫翻落去啦。因為條題目咧就問你 is 啦，咁所以你都會寫翻係 is 啦。咁寫翻咧就係 the north hyphen 啦 south line。咁點解咧呢個 north south 要 hyphen 咧？因為呢個咧咁樣先至係一個形容詞。咁而當佢咧雖然由幾個字去形成，或者2至3個字形成一個形容詞咧，你中間都需要一個 hyphen 嘅。接住啦 ，with water clocks, what did people need to look at to work out what time it was？ 即係話用一個水嘅時鐘啦，究竟我哋需要睇啲乜嘢嘢先知道究竟係咩時間呢？咁你睇翻啦呢一度，佢話 water clocks。The Egyptians also discovered ways to measure time using water. One example is a container shaped like a bowl, which slowly filled up as water dripped in an almost constant speed。即係話咧呢一個嘅即係有個碗咁嘅嘢啦，咁然後咧跟住之後啲水就會慢慢一路咁樣滴落去。From markings on the containers, people could tell what time it was by seeing how high the level of water is。咁其實同上邊嗰個 obelisk 嗰啲一樣啦，都係話嗰個咧係嗰個 marking 啊，即係喺嗰個兜裏邊佢會有 mark 咗一啲嘅，即係好似啲即係量度嗰個幾多個位，即係去到咩位就係咩幾點咁樣嘅一個標誌啦。咁我哋嗰個知道嗰個水位係幾高嘅話咧，咁我哋就會知道究竟現在係幾多點啦。咁條題目咧就睇翻咧，就係問你究竟我哋要睇啲乜嘢咧 ？What did people need to look at？ 究竟佢係想要睇啲乜嘢嘢先至可以知道 work out what time it was 咧？咁就要 had to look at 啲乜嘢咧？就係 the level， 就係應該睇 the level of water， 就係要睇水嗰個水平啦。咁另外咧就條題目問你話 what time it was， 咁 what time it was 咧就係都要知道咧，就係變咗同埋要對照翻咧嗰個 the markings on the containers。marking 即係好似譬如佢有一個兜咁樣，跟住之後咧呢個幾點？1點、2點、3點、4點、5點咁樣。咁佢譬如啲水去到呢度嘅，咁就係可能係5點啦。咁所以呢一個咧呢啲咧就叫做 markings。咁而咧呢一個咧就係一個 the level of water。咁你就要睇兩樣嘢，就係睇個 marking 啦，同埋要睇嗰個嘅水嘅水平。咁睇翻呢一題啦，第7題啦就係 people had to look at the level of water and the markings on the water clock。就係要睇下嗰個水嗰個時鐘嘅究竟嗰個水嘅水平先啦，同埋嗰個 mark 嗰個位啦。According to the passage, which was better, sun clocks or water clocks？ 咁睇翻究竟邊一個鐘好啲啦。咁呢到最後睇翻呢一句啦。咁呢一句佢就話 ，However, unlike the sun clocks, the accuracy of the water clocks was a little dubious. This is because it is very difficult to control how quickly water flows。咁呢個佢就講話唔似一啲嗰個即係用太陽去計嘅時鐘。咁你會見到呢度咧用 unlike 呢個字咧，就會知道佢係做緊一個 comparison。The accuracy 即係嗰個準確性啊 was a little dubious。點解咧？就係呢度你睇翻咧，即係話咧係唔係好準確 ，not very accurate 嘅意思。咁所以咧 你會知道咧，就係話應該以個作者嘅觀點嚟講咧，應該係 sun clocks 咧係好過個 water clocks。According to the passage, which was better 係邊個好啲咧？就會係應該係 sun clocks。Sun clocks were 因為佢用 was 啊嘛，係咪？咁所以咧就因為有呢個眾數，你記住呢個用 were 咯。Sun clocks were better because they were more accurate than water clocks， 即係佢個準確性咧係比較高，因為佢呢度上邊咧就係講話呢一度係佢話little dubious， 即係話有啲懷疑啊，咁即係個準確性係有啲令人懷疑嘅意思，你可以抄翻呢一句都可以嘅。就可以寫翻就係話because 可以咁寫啦，又或者咧係呢個上面照寫就係 because the accuracy of the water clocks was a little dubious。接住到第二篇嘅 comprehension 啦，呢一度咧就係 Did you see the debate on the television last night？ 咁呢個 debate 咧即係一個辯論啦。佢 Yes I saw it, but I don't think that any of the three candidates are good enough。就係佢就話咧個3個嘅候選人咧都唔係真係咁好嘅。咁點解咧？I agree the selection is weak, but someone has to be the mayor. Mayor 咧就係個市長，咁即係話有3個候選人，而3個候選人都唔算係太好，不過咧都會總有一個做市長嘅。What do you think was the best？ 究竟 who do you think was the best？ 係邊個係最好咧？佢話 Overall, I think that Justin Roberts was the most convincing， 即係話覺得佢咧係最具說服力啦。I like what he said about improving education， 即係佢咧就講關於一啲 education 嘅嘢啦。然後 James 就話啦 I don't think that there would be enough money available for him to carry out those plans though. The ideas are good, but they aren't practical。即係話佢雖然講教育，但係就不切實際。咁 Andrew 就話啦 I disagree. It's better to have good ideas that aren't practical than to have no ideas at all, like Paul Brook。Paul Brook 咧就係另一個嘅候選人啦。That's true. He talks and talks, but it's all nonsense. As for Ray Smith， 即係話咧佢咧 James 咧就覺得 Paul Brook 咧都係一樣係即係講廢話。咁而係啦，咁而 Ray Smith 就點樣咧 ？His ideas are realistic， 即係比較實際啦。But he doesn't care about education, and as a father, that is a big issue to me。即係話 James 咧就會比較 care education 啦。咁而 Andrew 就話啦 ，Everyone has different priorities。咩叫 priorities 咧？係優先次序。I had a terrible experience in the hospital last year, and so healthcare is the priority for me。咁對於 Andrew 嚟講咧，即係嗰個嘅即係對市民嘅啲醫療嘅設施咧就更加重要嘅。Ray Smith has good policies in that area。咁接住 James 就答翻咧就話 If only there was a candidate who pleased everyone, but that person doesn't exist。咁佢就話覺得3個都唔係真係最好啦。That's not how the world works. But anyway, I should go and I have to do a presentation at the office tomorrow, and they are never fun. They 咧當然就係指 presentation 啦，不過要加翻 s。咁我哋睇睇呢個第一條啦，佢問你 It's in line 3係指乜嘢？呢個第一行2、3呢個 It's 啦，睇翻啦 I saw It's 啦，就係the debate on television last night。咁咧就會寫翻啦 the debate on television the previous night。因為 last 呢一個咧就唔嚟佢嘅 last 啫，但係其實係講翻佢之前嗰一日，咁你應該要轉咗 previous。第10行嗰個 day 啦 They 咧係咪 I don't think that there would be enough money available for him to carry out those plans. Though the ideas are good, but they aren't practical. They 咧就係指乜嘢咧？就係佢話即係佢個 idea 就好好，但係 they aren't practical。They 咧就係指翻咧就係佢嗰個想改革嗰個教育呢一樣嘢，咁就係應該係講翻Justin Roberts idea about improving education。OK， 咁 they 就係指佢嘅ideas about improving education。咁所以寫翻咧就係 Justin Roberts。咁跟住要記住 apostrophe s 啦 ，ideas about improving education， 即係要改善教育嘅一啲嘅 idea， 一啲嘅構想啦。第3啦 ，that 19行嗰個 that 係指乜嘢咧？就係話 Ray 佢話呢個啦，佢話佢 healthcare is the priority for me and Ray has good policy in that area。好啦，睇翻呢個 that 啦，咁佢就係話咧，因為佢話咧 healthcare 即係嗰個健康醫療呢樣嘢係對佢 priority，that means the most important。對於佢嚟講係好重要啦。咁而 Ray Smith 咧就有 good policy in that area，that 咧就係指 the issue of healthcare， 即係話喺健康醫療方面啦。第20行啦 ，that person 睇下呢一個啦。If only there was a candidate who pleased everyone, but that person doesn't exist. That persons 咧就係指candidate who could please everyone， 即係話一個候選人能夠滿意晒所有人係唔存在。咁所以咧就係寫翻啦，就係candidate who could please 或者可以唔使寫 could 都得嘅 ，who please everyone，who could please everyone 就係話要能夠一個候選人能夠滿足晒所有人嘅咧係冇乜可能咁嘅意思啦。第24行嘅 they 啦，1、2、3、4 they 啦 ，they are never fun。頭先我哋都講咗啦，就係 presentations 要加翻 s 嘅，因為咧佢話雖然晏晝要做一個 presentation， 但係佢話呢啲 presentations 係 not fun， 咁所以咧就會係應該係3，即係會有需要加 s 啦。第6題啦 ，Who are the 3 candidates and what are they running for？ 究竟佢哋係競逐啲乜嘢啊？呢個 running for 係指佢哋係競逐一啲乜嘢嘅究竟競逐緊啲乜嘢咧？咁呢度你會見到咧 ，but someone has to be a mayor。即係話咧，佢哋競逐想做市長，咁所以 Justin Roberts 啦、Paul Brook 啦同埋 Ray Smith 就有3個人。咁睇一睇啦，個 they are 邊幾個咧？就記住唔需要寫長寫嘅，因為佢叫你 short answers， 淨係寫 Justin Roberts、Paul Brook and Ray Smith。第7題啦 ，Which issues are the most crucial? Crucial means important for Andrew and which for James。咁我哋頭先都睇埋啦 ，James 啦最 care 就係 education 啦，而 Andrew 因為佢話佢入過醫院啦，所以咧就覺得 healthcare 係最重要。咁所以咧就會寫翻咧就係就會係 education 睇先應該係 healthcare for Andrew， 咁因為佢叫你 short answers and 乜嘢咧 education for James。第8題啦 ，What do Andrew and James definitely agree？ 即係好肯定 ，definitely 即係 means surely， 即係好肯定係好同意嘅咧係乜嘢咧？咁我哋睇翻咧就係佢有講過話兩個都好同意嘅一樣嘢咧，就係話 that's true。He talks 佢有講過話呢個人之前佢話咧就係話有啲人咧係 have no idea like Paul Brook， 咁跟住 James 就話好同意啊 ，that's true he talks and talks but it's nonsense。 咁即係話佢哋兩個咧都好同意話 Paul Brook 咧係講埋啲廢話咯。咁所以你會寫翻咧就係 Paul Brook doesn't have any ideas。就係佢咧係完全係冇咩主意嘅，淨係講埋啲廢話嘅啫。咁所以咧呢一個就係佢哋大家共同同意嘅嘢啦。第一題啦 ，while the storm 乜嘢咧？因為有 while 啦，見到咁所以咧應該係was raging。咩叫做rage 啦 ？rage 本身咧，如果係名詞咧 means 係 anger， 但係呢個 rage 咧作為一個動詞咧 means continue strongly， 即係話咧即係好猛烈啦個颱風。Christopher's crew 咁因為有 while， 所以呢個都係一樣 was taking shelter inside the ship。好啦，呢一句咧就好多人咧都會用錯。點解咧？佢話 although storms often 乜嘢 the ship they were always scary because the ship almost 乜嘢 apart every time。咁呢一度咧你會見到咧就好多啲咩 often 啊咩 every time， 咁好多學生咧都會將佢當係一件即係好似習慣嘅事情咁用咗 simple present。但係你留意下呢度咧，佢話 they were always scary， 咁即係換言之，佢而家講緊呢一個咧，就係話緊一般即係佢哋過往遇過嘅颱風啊。咁所以咧，我哋就只會用翻 simple past tense for 3同埋4。咁呢個咧，你會 hit 都係用翻 hit 嘅 past tense 都係 hit。Because the ship almost 乜嘢咧 fall apart 咧，就係呢一個咧係會用 fell apart 啦。即係話佢哋每一次咧都會即係隻船都最爛晒咁滯。They knew that when the morning came, they needed。好啦，呢一個咧就會係當朝頭早，即係夜晚就好多颱風啦。咁跟住之後咧 they would need 應該係話即係佢哋會需要 to fix everything that's 乜嘢咧就係that had been broken in the storm。咁呢一個咧就係因為個意思咧就係話佢。所有嘢咧，佢之前嗰朝整爛嘅嘢，即係話因為嗰個風暴而整爛咗嘅嘢。咁佢就係話係啦，咁每一次隻船都會就係爛晒啦。咁當朝頭早嚟嗰時，佢哋就會需要去 fix，咁所以變咗用 would 咯。And everything that 但係之前嗰陣時整爛咗嘅嘢，即係個夜晚颱風嚟嗰陣時嗰啲整爛咗嘅嘢。咁所以咧，你會見到咧就係呢一個就係佢哋而家。係時間喺度啦，咁另外咧 would need 就係以前啦，就係要 fix 啦，但係再之前咧就係再之前整爛咗嘅，就所以係 had been broken 咧，就喺呢個 past tense 更加遠嘅時間咧，所以我哋就要用 past perfect tense 啦。Had been broken in the storm when they awoke。were relieved， 即係當佢起翻身啦，佢就即係咩叫 relieved 咧？即係鬆一口氣啦。The storm 乜嘢咧 had ended。嗱，呢個點解要用 had ended 咧？就係話咧，因為佢哋而家起身嗰陣時咧，個颱風已經完咗啦。即係話咧，而家喺度講翻之前嘅嘢 awoke， 跟住之後咧，之前咧已經完咗。明唔明啊？即係已經 had ended， 即係話個颱風咧喺佢哋起身嘅之前咧已經係完咗，所以就 had ended。Christopher 乜嘢 storm before 啦，因為有 before 啦，即係話喺呢件事之前咧佢經歷過好多啦 ，had seen。OK，but none as fearsome as this. He felt exhausted, but he had stopped the ship from being destroyed by the storm。但係咧呢件事都要用翻 past perfect， 點解咧？就係話佢而家起身嗰個風暴咧已經之前 end 咗啦，亦都咧佢咧係能夠喺即係起身之前咧已經係可以係啦，咁就係已經能夠可以停止咗啲嘢，即係現在係冇事。咁所以咧，所有呢度有幾句咧句子，即係有幾個動詞咧都需要用 past perfect 嘅。呢度呢幾個咁通常咧都係表達咗咧佢係比起即係佢提及過嘅過去嘅時間更加遠，就係呢一個啦。Everything had been broken， 即係好多嘢係俾個風整爛啦。咁亦都係個颱風咧係已經係起身之前完咗啦，即係有個之前嘅意思啦。佢之前見過好多風暴啦，咁佢之前能夠即係制止到 即係對颱風對呢隻船嘅威脅咁嘅意思。咁所以咧呢度咧雖然佢係 he felt exhausted 就係一個 past tense， 但係後邊呢一句咧就需要用一個 past perfect 啦。好啦 ，once the storm had cleared， 跟住 blue sky was visible。呢一個咧，你會見到係嗱，見到咧又係即係之前完咗，而家就可以用到 past tense， 就係而家就可以見到呢個藍天。About the ship, the sea was calm. The rocking of the ship had knocked everything over inside. So Christopher and the sailors had to be sensible. Sensible 咧，即係話要比較理智啲啦 ，and tidy up. This was not very enjoyable， 即係話咧要執好晒啲嘢咧，就唔係一件好享受嘅嘢啦。Luckily, there weren't many breakable things， 即係唔係太多咧打得爛嘅嘢 breakable things on the ship, so not a lot was damaged. When they had finished, the crew had to repair the sails， 即係嗰個風帆個帆啦。Because if they weren't usable, the ship couldn't move。即係嗰個 sail 咧係好重要，咁所以佢哋一定要 fix 咗佢。A lot of wooden structures on the ship had been damaged, so Christopher asked his best 乜嘢咧 person who does carpentry 就係指 carpenter。and carpenter 即係佢嗰個木匠啦 to fix them. It was a hard day's work for everyone, so when they had finished, they relaxed and listened to Peter, who was a good musician. A person who plays music 就係 musician。Play the flute. Now Christopher could concentrate on his goal. He was an 乜嘢咧 a person who explores 就係 explorer. And determined to find new countries. 好啦，接住啦 the passive voice 啦。咁呢一個咧 passive voice 其實就唔係太難嘅，因為好多都係 simple past tense。睇一睇啦 the following morning the wind got stronger, so the mist 呢度咧。記住，如果係一個 past tense 咧，要先加 was 或者 were 啦，咁所以 was blown away。Christopher steered the ship to point west. The sails were 呢個係啦，眾數，所以 were let down， 即係拉低咗嗰隻歌帆啦。And the maps were spread。咁留意下 spread 嘅 past tense 咧，都係 spread。OK， 咁你點知道只係 simple past 咧？你見到咧呢度好多個動詞咧都佢提供咗嘅動詞咧，全部都只係一個 past forms。咁呢個係past continuous， 但係你會見到咧就係全部都即係以一個古仔嘅形式去表達，全部都係一個 simple past tense。The scientist whom Christopher had brought on board was excited by the idea of finding new sorts of animals， 即係話咧就嗰啲科學家阿 Christopher 喺船上面嗰啲科學家咧就覺得係能夠揾到啲新嘅動物就好興奮啦。Christopher couldn't wait to find a new country. They sailed for many days without seeing any land at all. The ship was pushed about， 即係咩意思咧？隻船咧係俾個海即係一路係咁推進啦。And it was steered by Christopher. Steer 咧即係駕駛嘅咁嘅意思，即係駕駛一隻船就係叫做 steer。Who always knew where he was going. Weeks and weeks went by, and there was still nothing but sea。即係話咧，佢哋咧過咗好多個禮拜啦，但係乜嘢都見唔到陸地，只係見到個海。The crew started to get worried because supplies were running low. Supplies 咧即係嗰啲供應品啊，即係佢哋帶上船㗎嘛，因為你要帶齊晒佢哋要整個航行要帶嘅物資，咁所以呢個 supplies 即係嗰啲供應嗰啲物資嘅意思。嗰啲物資咧係 were running low， 即係意思咧就越嚟越少。The new land will not 啦，呢個喺對話之中啦，咁所以咧佢呢度就講話 we will die at sea。咁因為由於佢話物資唔夠啦，咁所以佢就會話嗰個新嘅陸地咧係 will not be found，won't be found，will not be found。咁而另外呢一個咧，或者係可以 won't be 都得嘅。咁佢好絕望咁講啦。They said to Christopher, but he kept looking, he kept going. He was certain that they would find land. Nowadays, satellites 好啦，今時今日啦，我哋會有人造衛星啦。 咁人造衛星呢個留意下，呢個係眾數啦。咁同埋呢個 nowadays 即係一個現在嘅狀況，一個用 present tense 嘅狀況。所以咧第8題我寫喺下邊啦，就係are used。咁其實呢個練習咧最主要提你哋咧就係話，如果只係用 simple past tense 咧嘅 passive voice 咧，就只係需要加 was 或者 were 再加個 past participle。如果咧佢係現在式嘅passive voice 咧，就會先加 is am 或者 are 再加一個 past participle。住啦 ，the food supplies were starting to run out， 即係話嗰啲物資開始用完啦。All Christopher had was a lot of bread。好啦，呢一個咧佢即係 all Christopher had 咧係一個名詞嚟㗎咋。咁只有佢擁有嘅嘢咧，咁呢啲咁樣嘅物件咧，佢係指緊即係一樣嘢啦，所以用 was a lot of bread。OK，was。It was dry and hard to eat. His men were worried。呢個咧係應該係 worried， 因為呢一個咧係一個形容詞。He was worried。OK， 咁 his men were worried。咁呢一個係一個形容詞啦，所以咧就會係要用翻加翻 IED 嘅。About what was going to happen if they couldn't find land。They wanted to go home。呢個咧係they wanted to go home 就冇咗個 to 嘅應該係。Christopher suggested to looking at the maps。咁好多學生咧就以為 to 後邊要不變動詞啦，但係其實係錯㗎。其實 suggest 後邊咧係要加 gerund 嘅，所以係唔要 to。OK， 提翻你哋記住 suggest 後邊咧係加 gerund， 係接一個加一個 ing 嘅動詞。But none of this sea had been mapped， 即係話咧冇一個海嘅呢個部分嘅海咧係被佢哋所即係收錄喺個地圖度，所以根本就唔知自己喺邊。Christopher was the first people。Christopher 咧係第一個人，咁得一個嘅啫嘛，所以係 person to explore here。After 後邊咧需要加個 gerund 㗎，係 after sailing for 4 weeks Christopher could see something in the distance。He didn't want to get too excited。點解咧？呢一個咧係因為佢講緊人啊嘛，即係講緊 Christopher。咁一個人嘅 feeling 咧就會需要係加 ed 嘅嗰個 adjective， 所以係 feel too excited。But he thought it was an island。He made the ship。好啦 ，made 後邊啦係接嗰個動詞咧係要一個不變動詞嘅，咁所以咧 he made the ship turn。Towards the island， 記住咧 make 後邊咧係加不變動詞。Ship turned towards the island and in no time they were almost there。 Christopher and the other man 咧呢個字咧 men 咧已經係眾數㗎啦，唔需要再加 s 㗎。Had found a new land， 即係話咧呢其實 Christopher 就係嗰時嘅哥倫布咯，其實可以話。And they couldn't wait to get there。They had tried so hard。tried 即係話咧，佢嘗試咗好，即係嘗試咗好多次，好即係好艱難嘅意思啦。接住啦，就到呢一個 gerunds and infinitive forms 啦。第一個啦，就 near the island，the water was too shallow for the big ship to sail， 即係話咧要航行去近個島咧。啲水咧就係太淺啦，咁所以咧隻船好大咧，你唔可以去嗰度就會變得擱淺。咁所以咧佢就話 ，so the crew put 2 smaller boats into the water and started to row towards the shore. Christopher was in the first boat. He spent the whole journey。好啦，呢個 spend 咧後邊咧係要加 ing 㗎，咁所以咧 the whole journey trembling 就喺度顫抖呢個字，即係喺度震。咁trembling。With anticipation， 咁其實呢個字咧作句都好有用嘅。Trembling with anticipation 咧就係話佢哋咧係佢哋咧即係興奮到震咁嘅意思啊，可以話即係佢好期待，咁佢好緊張，咁所以一個人咧有時會喺度震。They were able to leave the boat， 即係話頭先咪話唔夠物資嘅，咁所以話 they were able to leave the boats on the beach while they explored the island。While the scientists loved to see 啦，或者 seeing 都得。即係話咧，啲科學家一般都好中意睇啲新嘅動物啦，又或者佢哋想去喺個島上面見到啲新嘅動物啦，咁所以兩個都得。Most of the crew wanted to eat some food， 即係話咧，佢諗住喺島上面當然有食物啦，咁所以咧佢哋話唔夠物資，即係已經係好肚餓，咁如果可以有揾到嘢食咧，咁佢哋就會想咁做啦。Before they went further, Christopher organised his crew. He spent a long time. Spend 後邊要加 ing 啦，咁但係視乎嗰個係咩字啦。He spent a long time telling them what to do. Everyone would need 跟住咧 would need to stay alert. Stay alert 咧係解要即係比較警覺。If they were to survive， 即係話咧佢哋 were to 即係 if 佢哋想要生存。As the crew stood listening to their captain's instruction, stood listening 即係企喺度聽緊佢哋嘅嗰個嘅指示啦。It started to rain. The men had to run under some nearby trees. Had to run 即係話咧佢哋係要去跑去啲樹啦，去係因為落雨啊嘛，咁所以咧就 had to。記住咧就係如果佢係俾你 had 咧，你唔會係 had 乜嘢嘅 had run 咁樣嘅。如果假如佢真係想你填 had run 咧，佢一定咧即係佢要你填呢個 past participle 咧，佢一定係只會間線俾個 run 你，跟住然後你就會寫 had run。如果佢俾個 had 你咧，其實佢嘅意思係想你填 had to do something， 咁呢個佢就要跑去一啲樹度，咁所以咧個答案咧就係 had to run under some nearby trees for shelter。接住咧就到 relative pronouns 第一題啦。As Christopher was thinking about what they should do, he noticed some footprints 乜嘢咧？係呢啲 footprints 即係啲腳印啦 ，which had not been made by any of his crew。即係話咧，竟然有啲腳印係喺個島上面，咁即係話其實島上面有人啦。All his crew wore boots, but the people who made these footprints walked with bare feet。即係話咧，佢哋即係行呢啲嘅即係行出喺沙上面見到嗰啲腳印咧係 bare feet， 即係話咧係赤腳嘅。Christopher 乜嘢 emotions were high, decided to follow the footprints to the place 乜嘢 they were heading。咁佢咧佢嘅情緒係好高漲，咁而家指緊 Christopher 啊嘛，咁所以係他的就用 whose 啦。Emotions were high, decided to follow the footprints to the place。place 係地方啦，咁所以就係 where they were heading 咧即係去嘅地方啊，即 means they were going。Not worrying about the boats which were still sitting on the beach，which 係啦，即係話佢哋唔理啲船喺嗰度，喺即係放咗喺個沙灘度啦。Besides the sailors， 第六 whom he had told，whom 或者 who 都得嘅，即係話佢哋話俾佢聽話 ，OK，whom he had told to find food would wait by the boats for him。咁佢咧其實係指示咗啲嘅水手咧，叫佢留喺隻船嗰度啊，明唔明啊？by the boat 即係喺個船嗰度等佢。So Christopher walked off into the forest. The path 咧即係條小徑啦，條路啦 ，which 啦 ，the footprints took was difficult to follow because it went up and down lots of steep hills. Christopher was exhausted。乜嘢 wasn't surprised 啦？因為佢呢一件事，即係佢好攰呢樣嘢咧，因為唔夠嘢食，再加埋要又上山又落山呢一件事情啊，所以用 which wasn't surprising。He had eaten only bits of bread for the last week. At midday， 呢一個係一個時間啦。When the sun was high in the sky, Christopher found a village. This was the thing which 因為東西啊嘛 ，which 或者 that 都得嘅。He had feared the most。咁其實有幾個字咧就會係寫 that 都得，咁但係大部分學校佢都唔會提供 that 俾你，所以咧你應該係全部都應該用翻 which 咯。好啦，到conditional sentence 第一題啦，咁因為你會見到呢個 will have 啦，咁佢話 if 嗰個句子咧就唔會用 will 嘅 ，if 嗰邊嘅句子啦 ，if clause 啦，只會用一個 simple present， 而另一邊咧就會用 simple future tense。咁呢個係 conditional one。If Christopher had not brought， 呢個 had not brought 呢一個咧係一個conditional three 啦，你好明顯見到。 咁所以呢一句另一個main clause 啦，就會係 his crew，就會係變咗係乜嘢咧 ？Would have starved，would have starved， 因為咧就要即係要好肚餓啦。咁因為咧呢一邊咧就係用咗past perfect 啦，用咗 past perfect 啦，咁所以另一邊咧就用 would have starved， 即係要捱餓嘅意思。接住第3啦 ，if you 乜嘢 a hole in a ship it sinks， 咁呢一個咧每一次都會發生噶嘛，其實咧就係叫做 conditional 零啦，或者係一啲即係一啲always true 嘅 sentences， 所以 if you make a hole in the ship it sinks， 咁一定噶嘛，即係如果隻船有個窿，啲水入晒嚟，咁隻船就會沉啦。第4啦 ，if you are not adventurous you 乜嘢咧？嗱呢度見到 simple present 啦，咁你即係你永遠都唔會啦，你將唔會，咁就係 you will never discover exciting new things。 Christopher will survive if he 呢度咧你見到 will survive 啦，咁所以呢一邊咧嗱就會係一個 conditional one， 呢個都係 conditional one。Christopher will survive if he worked hard。第6題啦 ，if I 乜嘢咧 would leave the natives alone。natives 咧即係嗰啲嘅土著啊，即係話喺本身喺嗰個島上面居住嘅人。咁所以如果我係你咧，咁冇可能係你噶嘛。咁所以 if I were you 即係假設咧我係你嘅話咧，我就會點做啦。If Christopher 乜嘢 away from home he would not have discovered America， 即係話如果哥倫布當年咧唔係離開屋企遠，即係開隻船去一個好遠嘅地方咧，佢就唔會發現到呢個美國啦，呢個美洲啦。咁所以咧就 if Christopher had not sailed， 點解咧？因為呢個 conditional 3， 因為係假設，即係話如果佢冇去嘅話咧，就唔會發現。但係其實佢有冇去咧？佢嘅意思即係佢有去啦，然後佢有冇發現咧？係有發現咗美國㗎，美洲嘅呢一度。跟住接住第8題啦 ，If I had the courage I would go on a sea voyage， 即係一個海上嘅旅程。咁你會見到咧，因為呢個 if I had 呢一個咧，即係佢係只係講話如果我有，但係其實佢嘅意思咧係即係話佢冇啊，所以咧係一個 impossible situation， 所以就要用 past tense 啦。第9題啦 ，Christopher would have turned back a long time ago if he hadn't had the right attitude。hadn't had 或者 had not had。點解咧？呢一句咧都係一個 conditional 3啦，即係話如果佢唔係咁個態度咁良好嘅話，佢就已經翻咗去啦咁樣。咁即係換言之，即係佢個態度係好正確啦，而且咧佢係冇翻轉頭嘅，佢係繼續去航行，就係直到揾到美洲為止嘅。好啦，接住 articles and nouns 啦，第一個啦就會係The crew， 即係意思咧，因為我哋之前文章即係之前嗰幾段咧都有講過嗰啲嘅水手啦，咁所以我哋再提及咧就會用 The crew walked along the path that 人名，所以唔需要 that Christopher had followed earlier。 They were all feeling a sense of fear because they didn't know what the people on the island would be like， 即係話佢哋有少少驚，就係話唔知道即係喺個島上面嗰啲土著會係啲咩人。And they didn't have any weapons to protect themselves。 咁當時亦都唔會有好多武器。They walked for a long time, but they couldn't find the village。 但係佢行咗好耐啦。頭先都有講過話佢哋上山落山，上山落山，但係揾唔到嗰條村噃。Christopher hoped that he hadn't taken his crew for 因為呢個 A 字 an aimless walk。aimless 咧即係 no purpose， 毫無意義，冇目的嘅。即係嗰個咁樣行喺個島度周圍行 ，because they were all very tired and wanted to return to the ship。咁呢個啦，船呢一個係即係佢哋當時只有一隻船，所以一定 return to the ship and then go back home to Spain。Suddenly Christopher saw a man on the path, probably a man。好啦，嗱呢一個咧，因為佢講啦，佢話見到突然間有個人喎，但係呢個人咧。係嗰個 the man who had made the footprints， 因為唔係求其一個人啊，就係話嗰個人即係製造腳印嗰個人，即係見到個腳印呢個人就係可能嗰個腳印嘅主人。咁所以咧就係佢會就係用翻 the 呢一個。He stopped and looked at Christopher, then ran off into the forest。因為咧係指明嗰個即係嗰個島上面嗰一個嘅森林，咁就唔係求其一個森林就跑咗入去嗰個啦。接住到 adjectives and adverbs 啦。Christopher said that they should follow the man cautiously。咩叫 cautiously 咧 ？means very carefully。Because they didn't know where he was going. Following the man was difficult because he moved silently。因為咧佢點解好難跟蹤嗰個男人？因為嗰個人咧係行得好靜。And Christopher's men were very noisy。即係換言之，佢哋因為着住 boot 啊嘛，咁所以咧就好嘈啦，行起上嚟。但係嗰個人係赤腳，咁就會比較靜啦。After a long time arrived at the house that Christopher had seen before, suddenly a lot of people appeared from the forest and surrounded Christopher and his men。突然間有好多人出現。They were very suspicious。suspicious 咧係一個形容詞啦，即係話咧佢哋係好即係好懷疑呢啲咁嘅水手究竟佢哋上嚟做乜嘢咧 ？Because the people had hardly left their island， 就係話呢啲人咧係從來都冇離開過佢哋嘅島㗎 ，and didn't know a lot about the rest of the world。No one had ever visited their island before, but Christopher kindly gave them presents, including beautiful jewels and equipment. Although the people didn't trust Christopher and his sailors, they became quite friendly after a few days。咁即係話咧，就對佢咧就比較友善啦，就因為佢俾咗一啲珠寶啊，同埋一啲儀器俾佢哋。